So some breaking news, TikTok was just banned as of this morning, and I'm going to cover a lot of what is going on behind the scenes, as well as just give you a quick synopsis on everything that took place today and some commentary from certain people, as well as my own analysis. And so if you don't know, HR 7521 was up for vote today by Congress. It was passed with overwhelming support by both parties, bipartisan support. It still has to go through the Senate and through this whole process, but it looks like, based on pundits and just analysis, that it will go all the way through. And a lot of people on TikTok, especially, and various other platforms are talking about this, and especially the everyday American, the person that does not care about politics, nor do they care about this whole Republican, Democrat, all of this stuff. They're caring now, and they're saying something because it's actually affecting them. And so we'll talk about what's actually happening behind the scenes, because this is part of a huge operation, as I've been saying before. And again, if you're not awake to possible conspiracy theory, possible more agendas and things like that, you should be awake now, because people are trying to figure out what is going on. Of all the things that they tried to pass, right? You got the Democrats and Republicans on one side. Now you got them both together, and they happily passed this whole thing. And so people are like flabbergasted, scratching their heads thinking, what is going on here? And so quickly, let me give you this quick synopsis. HR 7521 says, Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. And I'm not going to read through all of this, but basically it's saying that it's going to ban TikTok unless it is basically deemed appropriate by the president if it is a qualified divestiture. So it basically has to divest from ByteDance, its parent company, and allow their subsidiaries or whatever successors to be fully able to be controlled by law in the US, and that it would be probably, incorporated here or whatever it is. But basically there's some nuance to all of this. But one of the things you have to do is you have to read the detail behind the law. And some people, including Elon Musk and Thomas Massie, has said that the TikTok ban is a Trojan horse. The president will be given power to ban websites, not just apps. And the person breaking the new law is deemed to be the US or offshore internet hosting service or app store, not just foreign adversary. And so a lot of the language that is being thrown out there is, oh, it's a foreign adversary thing. If you're part of CCP or China, if you're part of, maybe you can even include other countries, right? That the US, the Americans don't like. And all of this embedded in the language is that it's actually targeting a wider, broad-reaching, broad-stroke sort of thing against media itself. So Elon Musk says it's not about TikTok, it's about censorship and government control. If it were just about TikTok, it would only incite foreign control as the issue, but it does not. And so that's why a lot of people are freaking out right now, because it's this sort of draconian sort of thing, possibly, of what it's going into. Now let's take a look at what the votes were. The votes here, 197, 155 for yays, and let's just listen to see what they're saying. Basically,
on this vote, the yays are 352, the nays are 65. One present, 2/3 being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without the objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Okay, these numbers are incredible for a divided Congress, right? And so that's why a lot of people are scratching their heads thinking, how did they come together given everything that's happened? Now let's talk about what this means specifically with regards to the whole operation, right? So the first thing you have to understand is everything that's happening right now, almost everything, whether it's controlled or not, is doing one of two things. First is it's a call to wake people up. You're shaking people awake from their slumber. I've said this before. There are different sections of the world, basically, and a lot of people can divide it up into different ways. However you want to slice and dice it, that's fine. But the point here is that it's targeting all of these areas because people, and this is a God operation, by the way. God is doing this so that he can get people to wake up and understand what's really going on, because it's a great awakening. And what is this doing? It's targeting the media. All of the other stuff, and the other day I talked about some arts and entertainment, we're talking about business recently, government and policy, like all these things, right? We talked about they're targeting the family, the nucleus, they're targeting the churches, they're diluting things, they're doing things like LGBTQ in the education system, they're dumbing things down, all of these things. And part of that is the media. And what's the media doing? If you take away somebody's entertainment, livelihood, their ability to speak, freedom of speech, all these things, and it's going to get them to then care about the issue and the situation. So in each sector, you can't just focus on one thing and hope that people will wake up. You have to look at every single sector and then say, how can we shake somebody up? And so we'll talk about if this was a controlled operation or not, or what's going on. We'll talk about that here in a second. The second objective is that it's fighting a real war. You are literally fighting a war for which you are not sure whether there are bad people or good people. And by that, I mean bad people that are moles, or bad people that have been converted to good people. They took a deal or whatever, or they are white hats. They're good people, but they act like bad people, or they're white hats and they're just playing their role. But the point here is that there is, in each of these operations, a way to fish out and see what is their true color. And if they are faking it, they're faking like they're a bad guy, or they're faking like they're a good guy, or whatever it is, because either the black hat is converted, and by converted actors, I mean that they took a deal and then now they're playing to the white hat's advantage, and later they're going to get their time, or they still don't know who the bad guy is, and they have to initiate these types of maneuvers to find out who these bad guys are and reveal their true colors. If you're a white hat, you're just being told in some sense what to do, because you are not only fighting the enemy, fighting I don't know if you want to say CCP, or people that control the globalist agenda, and not even CCP, but anybody that wants to dictate propaganda and how they control you, right? So all of this is being done to fight an enemy, and they're playing their part because, again, it's part of a massive wake-up operation. It's part of a massive ploy to deceive your enemy and to not allow them to think you know what's going on. So you have to realize this thing is achieving these two objectives. Everything that is happening, almost everything, is achieving these two objectives, because we are in a state of devolution. We are in a state of war ever since 2020. And even before that, they were caught, as Trump says. They were caught red-handed, and now it's a matter of dismantling and at the same time simultaneously waking the population up so they would know what's going on. And it's a slow drip, drip, flood, as a lot of people like to say. And let's take a look at the scale of enlightenment. I always talk about the audience 1 and audience 2, audience 3. Audience 1, again, is to normalize them, to just use basic things without being too political, without being too conspiracy-like, to introduce them to an us versus them, a God versus Satan, a rich versus poor, right? So all the basic things, you're introducing them to saying, okay, there's some marginalization, racism, there is all these things, and they're waking up and saying, okay, I see now that the people in government, the people in positions of power, they don't really care about us, and this is happening for a reason. So this is why a lot of people are on TikTok, and they're finally kind of thinking to themselves with this whole TikTok ban that, oh, maybe I should get involved in politics. Maybe I should speak up, or maybe I should be aware that there really is a censorship agenda, a freedom of speech. It's not all roses and butterflies, right? This TikTok ban is spanning across not only the normalized audience, but also the awakened audience. The awakened audience understand that there's an agenda, liberal versus conservative, that there's a deeper seated evil within compromised media networks, compromised political parties, and all these things, and that there is a dichotomy of what you see in terms of your moral compass. And so the TikTok ban, again, is doing more, because what it's allowing people to do is it's allowing people critical thinking. It's giving them a chance to vote and saying, okay, now I know what's what. Now I know who to vote for or what policies I should be standing up for. Before, I was just doing things because everybody else did it. I was just doing things because, oh, maybe that sounds good, or I did it because I always voted that way. Now, they're either switching parties, they're realizing, okay, this is what's what, this is what's up. And this also is awakening audience 3, because it's part of, as I've said before, the movie, the Q, the military op, the movie operation. And I believe that TikTok is actually an unknown variable. So it was an unpredictable variable that back in 2016 or 17, they really couldn't have scripted this, right? They couldn't have said that, oh, maybe the whole population, like everybody, right? They're gonna get on TikTok and they're gonna grow, and people are just gonna be creative. They're gonna make videos. They're gonna do all these different things, and it's just gonna explode. I believe they wouldn't have been able to fully predict that, and it was part of a tactical adjustment. So they had to, and this is why I'll talk about Trump here in a second and others, flip-flopping, if you want to say, and just saying that, okay, maybe we need to switch our tactics a little bit because we didn't know this was going to happen. The Q post of 2017, 2018, 2019, they're not talking about TikTok growing because this is part of a growth process that's organic and that they didn't expect, but they have to basically adjust accordingly. And so this is part of why a lot of Audience 3, the Enlightened group that is acting out this movie, they have to sort of respond and say, oh my goodness, I really didn't know in 2020, 2021, 2022 that it's going to get this big. And so that's why this is happening from that perspective. So let's talk about what is going on with regards to some commentary and supposed sort of flip-flopping, supposed projections and all that stuff. Trump, this is him at a recent interview on CNBC talking about basically his thoughts on this. So people were questioning him and saying why
about China, I want to ask you
about
about perhaps one of the biggest business stories and policy stories of the moment, and that is TikTok. You have called TikTok a national security threat. At one point you said that their, quote, data collection threatens to allow the Chinese Communist Party access to Americans' personal and proprietary information. And yet it appears that you've now reversed your view on banning TikTok. Why is that?
So I had it done. And then Congress said, well, they ultimately usually fail. They are like extremely political, and they're extremely subject to people called lobbyists who happen to be very, very talented, very good, and very rich. I could have banned TikTok. I had it banned just about. I could have gotten it done. But I said, you know what? But I'll leave it up to you. I didn't push them too hard because, let them do their own research and development. And they decided not to do it. But as you know, I was at the point where I could have gotten it done if I wanted to. I sort of said, you guys decide. You make that decision because it's a tough decision to make. Frankly, there are a lot of people on TikTok that love it. There are a lot of young kids on TikTok who will go crazy without it. There are a lot of users. There's, a lot of good, and there's a lot of bad with TikTok. But the thing I don't like is that without TikTok, you can make Facebook bigger. And I consider Facebook to be an enemy of the people, along with a lot of the media.
So I believe here that even Trump is trying to sort of reconcile what has happened from the past and looking at how this platform is being used to actually awaken people. And now he has to kind of go back and do some PR/maneuvering to kind of rectify this because he's for the people, right? But he's not for this whole getting Facebook and Meta and these other media platforms more power and also giving this over to the elites and the people that are controlling this. And so Vivek says something very interesting, and I think gives a good summary on this. And let's just listen to what he says here.
You may have seen that Donald Trump and others are opposing the legislation to force a divestment of TikTok or else ban it. Let's talk about it. Here's the thing. In the United States of America, we don't ban specific individuals or companies. We ban bad behaviors. If there are issues with forced data transfers to foreign governments, we need to ban forced data transfers to other governments, regardless of who the company is. If there's issues relating to kids using social media and getting addicted to content, we need to stop that for all forms of social media, reaching those young kids and stop them from getting addicted. But it's insane that a bunch of lobbyists for Facebook and US Silicon Valley companies are trying to just eliminate one competitor in the name of national security. Apply the same rules to everybody. Ban bad behaviors, not individuals or companies. That's un-American. We're not going to beat China by acting like China. It's time for Republicans to get out of the past and move to the future.
So what you got to realize is that no matter who's talking, whether they sound smart, whether they are like Vivek, whether they're like Trump, whoever it is, they're all targeting different audience groups. And so not everything can be taken at face value because we're in a war. We're in an operation for which you are either targeting Objective 1 or you're targeting Objective 2, and we're all playing a role. The members in Congress, some of them, not all of them maybe, they're all playing a role, and they're being maybe in some sense told what to do. They're saying that this is the master plan. At some point, there may be this chance that we can shake more people within the realm of media, like I mentioned in the 7 different groups there, that this is one area, one facet for which more people will be galvanized into politics and the issues at hand. And then this will trigger them into more things down the line. Because again, somebody scripted a lot of this and said, we're all in a slumber. we're all sleeping. And when I say somebody, I mean God is using these people who have a top level, high level view of what's going on. And they, in some sense, scripted all of this like a real movie. And they're saying, okay, we'll use media. We're going to use this area of war. We're going to use this area of China and Russia. We're going to use this area of, media and entertainment and the arts and all these things, and even church and religion. And we're going to use this because God works all things together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. He's using all these things to get the objective of waking you up, to shaking you out of this whole slumber that we've been in, and then to move us forward into a better time, right? Into the kingdom age and many other things that are going to happen for the body of Christ. So this is where we have to be alert and saying, okay, there's more than meets the eye. Some people are playing a bad role because they're actually good guys. Some people are actually bad guys pretending to be good, and they took a deal or something happened and they are pretending to go along with it, and they seemingly just agree with all these Republicans and these other guys, and then other times you feel like they're not being good, and just there's weird behavior happening, right? But it's for the sake of allowing critical thinking to happen, for you to vote, for you to then take action. And so this is what's happening. So whether it's Vivek saying certain things, Trump saying certain things, don't look at it as a linear thing. It's multifaceted. Because, again, go back to the two objectives. Love you guys. Be encouraged. It's a great awakening. More is coming. Talk to you guys very soon.